Oh, you look at that. Hey, I'm Lone Candle. Today, I'm having one of my ramble videos. So, normally when I do politics, I like to make a specific argument, research it, give you some sources, and make sure I'm speaking facts. I'm not doing that today. Now, I do follow this stuff, so I have an idea of what I'm talking about. But, it's gonna be sort of a ramble. I just got a list of things I might want to talk about, and I'm gonna talk about them. Because this is week 1 of Donald Trump's presidency. And I think you guys need to know how I feel. Alright. The inauguration size. So, there's a debate about the number of people that attended Trump's inauguration. And Trump has kind of been spearheading it. He's making a big deal about it. Even sent out his press secretary to basically say things that are untrue to try to defend his version of how many people were there. It basically starts when you actually look at the pictures of the inauguration from the back end, the back where you can actually tell how many people were there, because they're both full at the front. But you look at the back end, you can tell how many people are there. They're at Obama's inauguration compared to Trump's. There's clearly more in Obama's. It's just obvious. And then we have a variety of ways of trying to measure how many people could have been there. The biggest cited one is how many people rode the subway or the metro, whatever they call it there. And yeah, it all supports that Obama's was more. And who gives a shit? Obama was the first black president. And the inauguration is in D.C. There's a lot of black people in D.C. Of course, more people are going to show up to the first black president's inauguration than to just another white guy. That's no big deal. That's no big fucking deal. And yet, Trump seems to be obsessed with it. We even have aides saying he's watching TV and getting furious about it. Aides to Trump in the White House. So, he still doesn't seem to have a great grasp on policy. And instead of focusing on figuring out, how to do the fucking job, which is the President of the United States, which is a pretty hard goddamn job. You really got to focus on it. He's worried about how many people attended his inauguration. And so it doesn't fucking matter. What the fuck? Why is he talking about it? And 2, he's wrong. He's just dead wrong on the facts. So it's pretty ridiculous. No, on a similar vein is the election cheating. So, without providing any actual evidence, he tries to cite random people that don't really have evidence themselves, or at least don't show it. He claims that 2.5 to 3 million legal immigrants voted in this election. He has no evidence for it, but he just says it anyways. So either he has secret evidence that he hasn't revealed to us, or he's not comfortable with losing the popular vote. So he chooses a number that, hey, would have been enough to give him the popular vote if those votes shouldn't have counted. So again, why is he talking about it? He won the election. Everyone knows he won. And if there really were 3 million, that's something to point out and tell us about, but it appears to be just complete nonsense. So he started his presidency with pointless lies that appear to be more just about himself not feeling as great because, well, he didn't get as many people as Obama's inauguration. Who gives a shit, Trump? Come on, man. Run the country. Man, come on. All right. Oh, along the same lines, the alternative facts line. So, one of his supporters, I think Conway is her name, while defending Trump, she's talking about alternative facts. Now, a fact is something that's true. There aren't alternative facts. They can't be contradicting facts, so it's a little awkward. Now, I don't think she tried to mean there can be 2 contradicting claims, but it goes with Trump's total disregard of the truth. So, because he basically does just try to purport alternative facts. And by that I really mean he just says things talking out of his ass without evidence. Which is kind of dumb. It's annoying if anyone does that, but if the president does it, it's especially bad. Because it devalues truth in the whole country. Not to mention a lot of people are just going to believe it because he says so. Alright, there's an international family planning gag order. So this is President signed an Trump signed an executive order basically saying the U.S. gives about $9.5 billion in funding to these family planning groups around the world, basically charities that try to help poor areas around the world. And now they've signed an order that none of this money will go to any group that does abortions or even talks about abortions. So I don't think Trump probably cares that much about abortion, but he's in the conservative party, so those are his allies, and that's what they want. So that's what he did. And the real problem with this is that there are not infinite good organizations that are there on the ground. There's only a handful, and on a lot of them, their philosophy is that abortion prevents poor kids from being born in the first place. So now either these groups have to change what they believe is right, what they believe is the best policy to help poor areas, or they're just not going to get the money, and the money's going to go to groups who don't have the infrastructure on the ground or as much expertise. It basically means this gag order is going to hurt lots of people who aren't going to be as well served by these charities. And that sucks for them. I'm glad I live in a middle-class world, so that sucks for them, especially because it's all done because of a misunderstanding about why humans are valuable. And that's what abortion is. That's what pro-life abortion is. I'm going to make an abortion video, so I'll elaborate on that more there. I'll move on for right now. Yeah. Alright, so Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. Republicans want to repeal and replace. So does Trump. And Trump's really not showing much leadership on that. He's not giving them a half-made plan and saying go. Basically, the Republicans are just all arguing about it. They have a bunch of different plans. They haven't really coalesced around one. Maybe they will later. But Trump's not showing leadership on that. In fact, he's actually hurting. He's making it tougher on the Republicans because he keeps making just not vague, but wild claims about what it's going to do. Most specifically, saying, hey, no one's going to lose their insurance. Everyone's going to be covered. It's going to be great. But that's not what the Republican plans are. Right now, the Democrats, they give a fair amount, they expand Medicaid, and they give a fair amount of subsidies for people who have low income for their health insurance. Well, the Republicans want to give less money to lower income people to afford health insurance. Some people won't be able to get insurance then, won't have insurance, because they won't be able to afford it. So Republicans are building plans that means people will lose their insurance or have to change to a different insurance, which might not cover the same doctor. And Trump's making claims that they are going to do all this, which it's just impossible. It's not going to work unless it's incredibly expensive. So basically, he's making ridiculous claims about how good it's going to be, and the guys who actually have to put it together must be screaming like, stop talking! Stop, that's not our plan! No, we can't actually do that! Or we don't want to, at least. So, yeah, he's kind of screwing all that up. They still might come out with a good plan and then Trump will sign it, but it definitely makes it harder rhetorically when he's making promises they're not going to keep. Alright. Did you guys see him with the British Prime Minister? So the British Prime Minister, nice old little lady. Very, very sweet, nice little lady. That's probably sexist, but whatever. And after they have their conversation, they come out with the two podiums and they talk. It was hilarious to watch because it was blatantly awkward for her. I don't know what she really thinks about Trump, but it was awkward. Clearly, he's a good schmoozer. He likes just to say stuff, blah, blah. And she's just trying to be nice. She's trying to smile because she needs the United States. She needs that being good relations with the president. She's trying to be diplomatic. And that's what this is, diplomacy. But from my perspective, she looked really awkward. Like, why is this guy saying this stuff? I don't know if she actually just thinks he's an idiot or it's just just more social awkward with how he acts. At one point, a journalist asked like a two-part question. One was for Trump, one was for her. And right when the journalist finished the question, Trump jumps in and answers her question. I think it's because he was trying to defend himself. No. Because the question was, Trump's iffy relationship with Mexico, because he's been in a fight with Mexico. How does that affect Britain, who wants relationships with both these countries? And Trump jumps in, hey, she has more things to worry about than the United States relationship with Mexico. So basically answered it for him and to try to defend himself. And I mean, it kind of looks childish when he jumps in and answers her question for him to defend himself. Makes him look like he has a really bad ego, but like a sensitive ego problem. Right words aren't coming to me. No script. Yeah, so now you see how slow I am at thinking. Ah, yeah. Yeah, anyways, yeah, made him kind of look like a childish dick. Alright. Day after Trump's inaugurated, he's at the National Prayer Service. And so it's basically a church service. There's like a shot of him on camera. You know, they're showing him at the service. And you can see about 6 people in the shot. 5 of the 6 are standing there. Or sitting there. Watching the service. One of them, you know, he has the sermon in his hand. Or whatever you call it. And he's kind of moving. He's fidgeting a little bit. And of course, who was that one person? It was Trump. It was just hilarious to watch. Like, clearly, he is bored here. Now, it wasn't ridiculously fidgety. I don't want to exaggerate. But clearly, there was 1 out of the 6 people in this shot that was bored and a little fidgety, and it was Trump. So I thought that was kind of funny. I don't even know if that's a bad thing. I would be bored at church, too. I have been for many years. Or from when I used to go to church. All right. Now, throughout the campaign, Trump clearly talked like he didn't know what he was talking about. When it comes to policy, which is what a president tries to get done, is policy. The executive orders and what he's trying to work with on Congress, that's policy. What the country's going to do. You know, what are the laws? Where does the money go? He appears to not really have much of a grasp. You know, in the debates, he clearly didn't have a grasp compared to the other candidates. And the longer this goes on, the more time he has to research them. And now that he's actually president, he needs to have a grasp because it's his fucking job. And he has access to great advisors now. You know, I wish I had access to those advisors. Shit, these videos would be a lot better. And someone who knows how to do technical stuff, make it not look like shit. Also, face surgery would help. But anyways, Trump still talks like he doesn't really get most of these things. He just kind of talks in platitudes and generalities, and he doesn't seem to be able to talk in more detail. That's kind of scary, that he appears to not know what he's talking about. Still. An interesting thing came out, some leaks from his aides that say Trump gets bored a lot and then just starts watching TV. This kind of dovetails with his biographer. So a while ago he had a biographer who followed Trump around, talked to him a lot. And now the biographer says that Trump just likes to manipulate people and has no attention span. He has no attention span at all. And what these aides came out kind of goes with that. So to hear all these things about Trump, and I don't want to just believe negative things. Because I know people will be biased because of election, even though the biographer should be in a good position to know, you know, he might be just a big Democrat and be remembering things wrong because he's biased. But now these aides came out, and this is recently, like since he's aides to him as being president, and it seems to go along with it, that this is a guy with a short attention span. He gets bored easily. That's probably why he doesn't have a good grasp of policy, because that's boring. It's detail. Right after he became president, he signed a bunch of executive orders, and you got the leaders of the House and the Senate all around him, and he signed them with these big pens, and he's smoozing. He's a good smoozer, just talking and laughing and just saying stupid shit. But I mean, here it's okay to say stupid shit because you're smoozing. And he signs the order to nominate Rex Tillerson as Secretary of State, and you know, I think it was Pelosi. I think it was one of the Democrats. He goes, "We need him. We need him." And of course, the Democrat doesn't think you need him. He doesn't. They don't think this is the best guy for Secretary of State, but you know, it's just like what a smoozer would say. Yeah, we need this guy. You know, it's not a serious comment. It's just kind of a nonsense comment that you do socially. But he's really good at it, and it was really entertaining to watch. So while you know I don't like the bullshit, you know, smoozing is a skill, and I think he might have it. The worst thing about the Trump presidency so far, and this is pretty fucking bad. So I'm about to get real. All right, I'm about to get real fucking real. So if you're a pro-Trumper and can't handle the truth, you better leave. And if you really, really hate Trump, well, you're going to like this because this is the worst thing Trump's ever fucking done. All right, I went to Kroger the other day. I went to go buy my favorite cereal, and there was none there. You know why? Because Kroger discontinued my favorite cereal. It's the chocolate shredded wheat cereal. It's the Kroger brand. It tastes very similar to the much, much more expensive, I think, Kellogg brand, the chocolate mini wheats. But Kroger discontinued it. And this is my favorite fucking cereal. This is my number one favorite cereal. It's fairly healthy and very good. It's almost as good as the real brand, as the name brand. It might even be just as good, but it's so much cheaper that it's worth getting it. So, we have Obama. I'm alive during Obama. I eat cereal. My favorite cereal? Sold during the Obama years. Trump's president? My favorite cereal is gone. Favorite cereal gone. Fucking gone. What the fuck? And I didn't know about it soon enough to stock up. So now it's just gone. So I either have to eat less tasty, less healthy cereal, or I have to buy the name brand, which is super expensive. Look, Trump, I know you're out to get me because my videos are so good, even though they're not really anti-Trump videos, but obviously I disagree with them things. And I know you called up the CEO of Kroger and said, this is Lone Candle's favorite cereal, the chocolate shredded wheat Kroger brand. No more. No more. No selling, or else you're fired. And the CEO's like, well, President, you can't fire me. I can do other shit to you. And he's like, oh, yeah, you are president. I better just cancel it. So, yeah, best cereal, best goddamn cereal on earth, canceled. And I'm just blaming Trump because it happened right after he became president. So that was a serious comment. All right, Trump still thinks torture works. President of the United States publicly saying, yeah, I think we should torture. And he thinks it works. Now, for what I've seen, people who actually know a lot about interrogating say torture doesn't really work. Torture doesn't work. You just get false statements. People telling you whatever they can because they're fucking in massive pain because they're being tortured. And so why is the president saying this? Because now more people are going to continue believing this falsehood. Now, luckily, not to mention the morality of it if we actually do it. Now, luckily, his Secretary of Defense, Mattis, is against torture. And Trump did say that if Mattis is against it, then we're not going to do it. He said something like that. So it sounds like we're not going to torture. Of course, Trump goes back on himself all the time. But last thing I heard him say, we're not going to torture, even though he insists we should. But he's going to trust Mattis. So, hey, that's good. The United States will be torture-free. Yay! All right, there's a lot of weird gag orders on different departments in our federal government. Like, they're not allowed to talk to the press, even like scientists. They're not allowed to just put out some findings or just state scientific facts, educating the public, which might be something different departments would do. This isn't clear. I don't know for sure if there even was a gag order, but it seems like there were. But it also seems like the Trump administration is going back on them. Maybe because there was a lot of pressure against them. That's what this liberal commentator, who's actually pretty good, Rachel Maddow, said. So I'm not really too worried about that because I don't really know exactly what was going on with that. And I don't know, if it was going to be a long-term thing. And it seems like they're going back on it. So I'm not too worried about the gag orders on the departments. All right, so before the inauguration, and he seems to still be doing it some, Trump threatens to stop certain factories from leaving the United States. So basically, a factory in the United States, the owners want to move it to Mexico or to China or wherever. And Trump basically threatens them or convinces them somehow with heavy pressure to not move these individual factories. Now, one thing he goes on claiming this is great for the workers. And of course, the workers at those factories it is good for. But the massive amount of jobs lost because of globalization and automation, the number of people in these factories is nothing. This is nothing. It's just a PR game. It doesn't really do anything. And it's probably a bad thing for two reasons. One, if I'm not a free market fundamentalist, but I do believe the power of the free market. I think we need to be careful about having government intervene. Well, the free market, the owners who are trying to make as much money as possible, trying to get a good product as cheap as possible, as efficiently as possible to their consumer, they decided it should be built in Mexico or wherever they wanted to move the factory. So according to the free market, that's where it should be. Trump's interfering, protecting that, intervening, stopping that from happening. So that should hurt the economy overall. Yes, it's good for the 50, 100 workers in that one factory. Bad for the Mexican workers. Bad for the consumer, who's now going to have to pay more for goods. Bad for the company, who's now going to make less money. And that means if the consumers have to pay more for the good, they might buy less of it. They'll have less money buying other goods. The company has less to invest. Well, they're less to invest to create new jobs or create new technology. That's all bad. So it should be a net bad, even though for the workers that happen to work there, it's good. Oh, and the second bad thing about him doing that is, do we really want to live in a country where owners, people who own things, businesses, are bullied by the president of how they do their business. The president just basically went in and bullied these companies so they can't put the factory where they think it should be. That's concerning. First of all, Melania, still the hottest first lady ever. It's awesome. She's so hot, and it's always awkward seeing her with Trump. There's one painful moment when, like, they're in front of a mic. I think it may have been at the inaugural ball. I don't know for sure. But she's like, no, I don't want to talk to the mic. And Trump basically made her. It's like, people in high school or early college, and you make the girl do something she really doesn't want to do. And it's not one of those you make her and then she's glad she did it. It's no, she was embarrassed and it was awkward and we're basically all laughing at her. Not that we're all laughing at Ivanka, but clearly she didn't want to speak. She didn't really have anything to say. And Trump just made her do it anyways. And it was painful to watch. But she's hot, and so is Ivanka. Oh my God, Ivanka. God damn it. She's hot. Yeah, so Ivanka's husband gets to be in the ear of the President of the United States and to bang a really hot woman. What the fuck? That's not fair. Alright, I don't really have strong opinions about his cabinet appointments. Most of them don't seem ideal, but I haven't done enough research to really have a strong opinion. But that's obviously going on, getting those guys passed through the Senate. Alright, he's signing a lot of executive orders. Some of them are confusing. A lot of them are just symbolic, basically. They don't really do anything other than state his intention or only do minor things. Others maybe kind of start getting the ball rolling, but all of these don't do that much, so it's really confusing, obviously. And I'm not going by explaining all those one by one, but that's what's going on there. And then there are a few that actually do stuff. So an example is you get the rule freeze and the hiring freeze. So no new regulations. Trump administration saying no new regulations created by the bureaucracy. No new hiring. Which on one hand, yeah, they want to limit the bureaucracy, want to limit federal government role and overregulation. So it might help them to do that, to go ahead and say, whoa, stop doing anything until we can figure out what's going on. So that's not too worrisome. But it also does cause problems because we might need a regulation adjustment. Now they can't make it because Trump administration doesn't, got its shit together yet. Although it makes sense it would take time to get your shit together. And same with the hiring, which they seem to back off some, especially with the Veterans Administration. Sometimes a position needs to be filled. This isn't like government bloat. It's no, we have a position needs to be filled. Now we can't because you put this just blanket freeze. So that causes some problems, but I'm not too worried about that. At least in the short term. I love how Trump comments on his prepared speeches. So, obviously, all presidents have someone who write their speeches for them. Some are more involved than others. With Trump, because his written speeches, the ones people write for him, are so much different than how he normally gives speeches, I think he probably he does very little of the writing of his speeches. But what's very funny, first of all, it's kind of obvious that he's reading. You can always tell when the president's reading a speech. But with Trump, it's more obvious than normal. But what's more funny is that he stops in the middle of the speech and adds additional commentary. So he's looking back, reading the teleprompter, giving a speech, and will stop and add his own commentary in addition. It's really funny to watch. I wonder if that annoys the hell out of a speechwriter, because obviously they planned this speech and then he interrupts it all the time. Alright, so they want to go after 2 to 3 million criminal aliens, Trump administration. We're going to let the Border Patrol more broadly define what a criminal is, so that can allow them to more easily deport people, because they can declare them a criminal. Now, that's one of those executive orders. Now, there's kind of problems with this, because right now, the immigration problem isn't anywhere near at its peak. Net immigration with Mexico right now is actually negative, meaning more people go back to Mexico than come in. And half of our current, or at least recent, unless it's changed, but half of our recent illegal immigrants aren't from Mexico. They're from Central America. And they're not coming here simply because they want a better life, because they don't have a lot of economic opportunity. They're coming here because they come from violence. A lot of it's gang violence. And they're afraid they're going to die. A lot of these are families and kids. So now they're making it easier to deport these family and kids. Another thing of that is they want to expand how many they can detain, how many illegal immigrants can be detained at a time. So before, if it's a kid or a family who claims to be a refugee and is trying to claim asylum so they can stay in the U.S., we say, okay, well, here's your court date, show up. We don't detain them. And since they're claiming for asylum and they have a chance to win asylum, we expect them to show up. And they usually do. Now, they all have to be detained. That's what it sounds like the executive order is saying. So, yeah, poor refugees just happen to be detained in some sort of cell. So I don't really understand the need for that. It seems kind of extreme. I don't know if that's really going to fix the border problem. It seems like it's going to hurt people who are trying to better their lives. Yeah. So I also made this Office for Victims of Crimes Committed by Removable Aliens. So it's an office to investigate crimes committed by illegal aliens. Doesn't really seem to be needed. I mean, if an illegal alien commits a murder, they're being charged with murder, with or without this office. And most statistics show that immigrants don't really commit extra violent crimes than anyone else. So it doesn't really seem to be needed, this extra focus on it. So it almost seems like it's motivated by an irrational fear of immigrants, that you need a special office to investigate these. So that seems like a waste of money. Along those lines, in his election, he talked about banning all Muslims from the United States from immigrating to the United States, which clearly would be a bigoted policy, banning people based on their religion, and also would have been unconstitutional. Now that motivation has morphed into something that can be considered constitutional, banning people from terrorist countries. And so they've named 7 terrorist countries. I think it was 7. They've named terrorist countries. Of course, these are all Muslim majority countries, and it doesn't include all Muslim countries. It doesn't include Egypt or Saudi Arabia, which, by the way, 9/11, most of the 9/11 terrorists from Saudi Arabia. So if this is simply about terrorism, why aren't we banning from Saudi Arabia? Other than that, because they're our friends. The government is our friends, and we need to buy a lot of oil from them. So most of the terrorist attacks in the United States by Muslims are not from the countries we're banning. So you add on this that we have apparently a pretty decent or pretty good research. Basically, it takes 2 years to get into the United States. 2 years to have your background investigated, and it seems to be pretty good. It doesn't seem to be that huge of a threat of terrorists coming in as refugees. So simply banning immigration from these states, from these countries, especially a lot of these countries are having problems. There's a lot of refugees. It would be really nice to live in a safe country. Doesn't really seem to make sense. I mean, yeah, if you stop one, that's great. If you stop one terrorist, and maybe it will. Maybe even if it stops 1 or 2, maybe that's worth it. But it seems like it really would be 1 or 2 at the most. And then you're hurting people who could have a better life here. So it seems based on bigotry, as an exaggerated fear based on stereotype of religion. So that seems bad, but one other thing about these this order, they will accept persecuted minority religions from these countries where immigration is banned. Now, earlier in the campaign, even Bush, when running, said, well, we could accept Christians, of course. And that seems to be what's going on. So you have these conservatives, everyone, I mean, even most liberals probably have more sympathy for Christians just because that's most of our background in this country. So it seems like they basically just have a pro-Christian bias. So, well, of course, Christians can come in, even if they're from these countries. Even though Christians could be terrorists too, not to mention, how do you find out for sure someone's Christian and not Muslim? I don't know, it seems to be... it's clearly motivated from an anti-Muslim bias. So you got that policy going into effect. Alright, he started early moves for his wall. Sounds like it's really just a request for funding for the wall. So one thing about the wall, Mexico will pay for it. Well, that doesn't look like it's happening. Who knows? Maybe Trump will convince Mexico to pay for it. But right now, it's the United States paying for it. I mean, that's the current plan. And then will Mexico reimburse us? We'll see. So, yeah, the wall is estimated to be $15, maybe $20 billion. And Mexico's not paying for it. So, that's a huge fucking waste of money. It really is. Because Mexicans and other people who would cross the border, they have ladder technology, they have tunnel building technology, they have boat technology, they have overstaying your visa technology. A wall's going to be pretty ineffective. Not to mention what if they just blow a hole in it? Someone gets some dynamite and it's like, oh shit, now we have a real expensive repair job. And the wall's even going to be more expensive because the wall requires maintenance, so it's even more than the initial cost. So the walls, most people who study the immigration stuff, aren't going to be that effective. So we're spending a whole lot of money for something that's supposed to stop immigrants, but probably won't really do it. I mean, you really have to guard every inch of the wall. In which case, if you can guard every inch of the border, you don't need the wall. You just need if you have a drone that covers every inch of the border, well, you just have the drone, and then your guys come in on a helicopter or with a car, not a car, but whatever you'd use. So the wall probably won't, it might help interdict to an extent, but it's going to be a huge price. Seems like a huge waste of money, and we're going to pay for it. One idea they floated to pay for it was an import tax from Mexico. So they could be like, see? And this was just like a floated idea from the administration. So I don't know if they're going to do it or not, but see? Mexico's paying for it. We have an import tax on goods from Mexico. Yeah, but that's not how it works. One thing, it might not even be a Mexican company. It could be an American company. And then who's really paying for it is either the consumer, which means that Americans are paying for it by having to pay more for that good, or to buy a different good that they earlier would not have chosen because it's either more expensive or not as high quality. So it's hurting. So really, American consumers are paying the tax, and the company is paying the tax. That's not the Mexican government. That's a company. It's the American people. That's who pays that tax, and it hurts us all because now it's an interference in the free market. So instead of doing what was most efficient, government interference is making us choose different economic actions that aren't as efficient, which means less goods for everyone. Alright, so they're starting some other immigration stuff, which also is going to be expensive. So they want to hire a whole bunch of new Border Patrol agents. That's going to be expensive, yeah. Once again, we're paying for that, not the Mexican government. Doesn't look like it so far. Alright. And of course, like I mentioned, the detaining. Well, if you're maintaining a bunch of new immigrants instead of letting them live in the country till they come to their court date, well, detaining them costs money too. So it's all going to be a lot of expensive, and I'm not sure how much it's really going to help the immigration issue. And Trump had a meeting with the Mexican president where he could start his negotiating skills because he's going to get us great deals. And the Mexican president canceled the meeting. Which is basically a big fuck you to Donald Trump. Because of Donald Trump's actions on immigration from Mexico. Now, they did, Friday morning, they did have a call. I don't know what they talked about, but at least he was talking to him. But certainly, he didn't get the Mexican president to say, okay, here's 20 to 30 or 40 or $50 billion, however much all this stuff would cost. But I do think maybe Trump has a great idea. Because I'm thinking if we build this wall, it needs to not just be like a boring looking wall. It needs to be awesome. Visible from space, cool looking, like just cool architecture where it's like, oh shit, it looks like it's from like a fantasy movie. Maybe different parts of the walls could have different themes. I don't know. But it would look cool, and that would just make us all feel good. Like, hey, yeah, it's a lot of our tax dollars, but we got a cool looking wall. But what if it became a major tourist attraction? So people from around the world would come and watch. Or come and visit the wall. And we would make back the money for tourism. That'd be pretty awesome. We would be like, are we in China? Are we in the U.S.? I don't know. They both have great walls. All right. Oh yeah, one potential positive. Because I don't know a lot of details here, but Obama put in an executive order to give people a discount on their mortgages, and the Trump administration canceled that. I see that as potential positive. Yeah, it sucks for people who want a discount on their mortgages, but really, if people want to live in a house and want a loan to live in that house, they need to be able to afford it. If not, then they're risking another bubble by getting artificially cheap rates. So I don't think people should get that unless it's really a holy crap. a lot of people are hurting and we calculate that it's worth it. But I don't think that's probably the case. So it's probably a good thing not to give people a special break on their mortgage. Okay, I'm still holding out Trump. Trump seems like he's kind of a fool. I wouldn't be someone who said he's a complete idiot, but he seems like he's at least kind of a fool in some ways. But I'm holding out hope that he's actually a mad genius. I am holding out hopes that he is a mad genius. So he's really just thought about all the different outcomes, all the different moves that Mexico will make, that their people will decide, that their president will decide. There's a presidential election in Mexico soon. He's thought this all out, and he is a mad genius. He really is that expert negotiator. And I don't know for sure that's not the case. It's hard to know for sure. So I'm still holding out hope that that's true. But it really looks like he's just kind of an idiot with silly hair who's winging this shit. That's what it really looks like. But I'm hoping that's not the case. My more reasonable hope is that he has a bunch of advisors, and even though he's kind of a winging it, they stop him from doing anything too stupid. All right, NATO. So Trump has a lot of tough talk for NATO, saying it might be obsolete. But he's been changing his tune on that quite a bit, saying positive things about NATO. And a lot of the people he's appointed and his advisors are pro-NATO. So I'm thinking NATO's probably safe. Who knows? Maybe he'll get some of our NATO members to pay up a little more and pay their fair share. Oh, that's going to be tougher now that it looks like NATO is safe, but we'll see. All right, so Trump's proposing a lot of really expensive things, and of course he has a Republican House and Republican Senate, basically a Republican Congress. And these are Republicans, I'm talking about both the members of Congress, but also their supporters and their people in the media that are really, really big about the debt. Really big about pay-fors. They would just filibuster everything, guck up the works of government, say, no, if you want to do anything, I don't care if it's something that's urgent need for relief of a disaster, you've got to pay for it. This was a huge stressor. But now that they have power, now that Trump's proposing a lot of ridiculously expensive things, including, by the way, tax cut, which would just blow up the debt even more. I don't seem to hear as much talk about pay-fors. I barely hear any of it at all. Is it possible that while part of these congressmen and citizens and pundits in the media do kind of care about the debt, when it comes down to it, they're just hypocritical assholes who are really just talking about it because they didn't like Obama or what he was trying to do. Well, if they're not equally loud about Trump, they are hypocrites. Woe to them. All right, and also, so Trump has his key issues, immigration, trade. Those are some of his key issues, and obviously he's pushing forward on those with his agenda, no doubt. And that's different than what an average Republican president would do. But it seems like on every other issue, he's just basically doing what the Republicans tell him to do. His advisors are all conservative Republicans. You have a conservative Congress. I think he just doesn't really know a lot about this stuff and is kind of just their little bitch. Other than on these main issues, he seems just to be a very conservative Republican. He's basically just following his advisors. Nothing completely wrong with that, but that's not you special Trump like on his few key issues. That's very conservative Republican that you get under any other Republican. Like, for example, I don't think Trump really cares that much about abortion. He's pro-choice for a long time. I think that's who helped him get him elected. It's who his allies are. So now he cares about abortion and being pro-life. All right, he left the TPP, which is a trade deal that we weren't actually part of, but he officially said we're not a part of that. And he started some executive orders saying he's going to renegotiate NAFTA. Those are big things that he talked about on the campaign trail, so that's no surprise. We'll see where that goes. So, I want to give Trump a chance. I'm skeptical of him for obvious reasons. He's very risky in his temperament and his lack of knowledge. But I don't want to just snipe at him. I mean, if I'm going to criticize him, I want it to be because these things don't make sense. Not because he's Trump and I'm being overly skeptical. And when he does actually get things implemented, I want to criticize him based on actually how they do. And from what we can actually tell how they do. Not just trying to criticize wherever you can. So, a lot of these things I'm speaking vaguely or I'm not totally sure. It's because I'm not. I'm trying to make clear when I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I might have a current opinion, but it's tentative. And I hope to continue to judge Trump fairly and tell you about it, because I know you guys need to know my opinion. Anywho, I'm Lone Candle. Like me, comment me, love me. God damn it! Wait.